Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to another channel of The Flow TV. Today I want to talk about wounded and walking. Wounded and walking. I came upon this because sometimes we're in the process of going through things and we're wounded and we might not even know, but we're still continuing on through life and going through what God has predestined for us. However, we're wounded by what life has sent us. So I want to talk about that today because sometimes in some things people are going through or have went through and you're trying to pick up the pieces. Either you're sick, you either went through COVID, you've been through something. Something has occurred in somebody's life in this time. And you're probably walking around wounded from it. And you're probably walking around trying to continue and go forward. And I want to talk about that because there was this moment in the Bible. I was reading, I had went back to my Bible. I was wounded too, I got to admit. And I had went back to reading my Bible. And the first story I went to was this story about the rich man and Lazarus. And it talked about how sick Lazarus was, but he was still moving forward. Like God was still predestined in his life. And I want to talk about that because some people need hope in times of need. Some people need hope in those moments where you're wounded and you don't see if you're going to get healed. You don't see how the process is going to end. You don't see the future of it. All you see is it dwindling down. All you see is that everything is being taken from you. All you see is your sickness. All you see is that you're wounded and you don't know that you can walk. You know, like in the Bible, Jesus told him, take up his bed and walk. He had been sitting there for a long time. And some of you have been sitting in your sickness, in your condition, in your situation for a long time. And you need to know it's time to get up. It's time to walk. This is the moment. This is the season for us to get up and walk, you know? So this is Luke 16:19 through 31, the rich man and Lazarus. I'm going to read from the Message Bible because I'm going to read from the Message Bible. There once was a rich man, expensively dressed in the latest fashions, wasting his days in conspicuous consumption. A poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores, had been dumped on his doorstep. All he lived for was to get a meal from scraps off the rich man's table. His best friends were the dogs who came and licked his sores. This man is getting healed or comfort from dogs and scraps. And I know some of you guys have been sent things and you're like, well, dang, this is just scraps. It's either going to help me or it's either going to, do nothing. It's just scraps. How am I going to come out of this situation? I'm still wounded at the end of the day. Then he died, this poor man, and was taken up by the angels to the lap of Abraham. I know some of you, we sing that song, with the seed of Abraham, with the seed of Abraham, and you see things going on and you're like, how am I the seed of Abraham if this is occurring? Out of each situation and out of each testimony, we have to understand and see that God is in that story, regardless of the results, regardless of the outcome, regardless of the stepping stone to get to the outcome, So you just never know how your situation may turn out, how what you requested or how what you asked for or how what you scheduled and planned for yourself is coming to pass, because sometimes you have to go through the water. Like Moses had to split the Red Sea to get to the other side. Don't get mad at the process of splitting the Red Sea. Then he died, this poor man, was taken up by the angels to the lap of Abraham. The rich man also died and was buried. In hell and in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham in the distance and Lazarus in his lap. He called out, Father Abraham, mercy, have mercy. Send Lazarus to dip his finger in water to cool my tongue. I'm in agony in this fire. But Abraham said, child, remember that in your lifetime you got the good things and Lazarus the bad things. It's not like that here. Here he's consoled and you're tormented. Besides, in all these matters, there's a huge chastism set between us so that no one can go from us to you, even if he wanted to, nor can anyone cross over from you to us. What this is saying, that your blessing, like I said, the seed of Abraham, your blessing is yours. Can't nobody take that from you. That's automatically yours. Nobody can cross over into your blessing and take that from you. What it's saying is, in this season, in this time, get it right. Do it right. Because God is blessing you regardless in this season. And treat people right. Understand that even though out of your wounds and your torment and out of your situation and your circumstances, and no matter what you go through, or no matter what people put you through, still If you wounded and you walking, you still going forward. You still have that promise that God has promised you, regardless of the fact. Like, even when you're dead, this is showing that even when Lazarus and the rich man died, Lazarus still got his promise that God was giving him. And sometimes the promise don't look like what you planned. Sometimes the promise don't look like what you thought it might be, but that's still the promise. That's still the way to the promise. You just have to see it for what it is and know that God got you. I think in a lot of the situations that I even go through now, I have to replay in my head that God got me no matter what it is. It's a lot that beats against the wall. It's a lot that comes up against it. It's a lot that comes up against me. A lot beats against the wall. However, in that circumstance, I know the foundation. I know my base. I know what I stand upon. I know what I was made of. I know who I am, so I can pour water from this stone. So that's what I'm saying. Like, the promise is there regardless of the fact, no matter who's around, no matter who's saying something, no matter who's doing something, no matter what they do, no matter what you got, no matter what you don't got, no matter how you look, no matter what you look like, none of that matters. Because the promise is still there. The promise is still set in stone. Your plan and your purpose that God has given you is still set in stone. And I think God is sending me to tell the people this in this time and in this season, because a lot of people are saying, like, whoa, this is happening. Sometimes things are happening, but it's not to destroy you, especially his children. He created us not to be destroyed. And even this story tells you, even if you're wounded, even if Lazarus died, I still got you here. I'm still holding you in my bosom. You're still in my pinions. My hand is still on your life. I'm still with you. You are still wounded, but you're walking. So I want to let somebody know that, because the blessing of God, the peace of God, the favor of God, the love of God, and the joy of God is in that promise. And if you forget that promise, if you let the devil tell you to forget that promise, that's when you begin to see that depression and that dwindling. You begin to become destroyed, because you understand who you are, but the devil is telling you different, and your situation is also probably telling you different. But I've seen in a lot of my circumstances and situations in my life, you may say it was self-owned. No, sometimes it just happened. However, in the end result, in the middle of the process, in the in-between, and the going through, God came through and he gave me what I needed. He blessed me in that season. I survived it. You get what I'm saying? Survival is sometimes the best option in a circumstance. In world, whatever, survival is your best option. Survival is the only option you have in the outcome in the end. So what I'm saying in this moment, in this season, in this time, as God begins to bless you, or God begins to push you as you walk, sometimes people's blessing is their survival. Sometimes people's blessing is scraps from the table. Sometimes people's blessings is dogs licking their sore. Sometimes the blessing is sitting in the lap of Abraham. You just have to see the blessing in the situation. Wounded, but walking. I'm still walking. I'm still standing. I'm still here. That's some people's blessing. And I believe that. I don't preach that. I don't say anything I don't believe. Everything I say on here, I believe. I walked in it. I probably had to deal with it before I got on here. So I'm just letting you know, the Flow TV, wounded, but still walking. Much love. Be blessed. God's love.